Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm talking about 3 things that I did not like about Obi-Wan. Now, if you follow me in my content, you know that I'm a positive guy who just really loves Star Wars and wants to share that love with everyone. But for some reason, people get it mixed up. They think that being positive means that I think everything's perfect, or I love everything that comes out of Star Wars, or that I don't have any critiques or thoughts on things that could be different or better. That couldn't be further from the truth. In all honesty, probably about a third of what comes out I'm not really into, but the difference is the things that I don't like don't sit on my mind, and I don't think about them all the time, so I don't talk about them all the time. If I don't like a show, I'm not gonna keep watching that show. That's weird, right? Anyways, let's talk about Obi-Wan, which just wrapped. I actually really enjoyed this show overall. I give it about an 8 out of 10, but there's some things that I really did kind of get to me that I wanted to make sure that I discuss with all of y'all. The first thing I want to talk about is plot conveniences. Now, this can probably be considered in the nitpick category because just like in real life, people make suboptimal decisions, bad choices when other things were obviously available. But I still gotta talk about it. For instance, episode 3, Vader let Obi-Wan get away and then seemed angry that Obi-Wan got away. He just had doused the fire, but when it was reignited, he couldn't really get through it. Now, it's possible that in the chaos of all this, or whatever, Ned B was able to sneak in and get him out, but the way it functioned, like as a shot, just didn't work for me. In episode 4, there's stormtroopers that are just kind of marching nowhere, and I don't know why. Although I'm not gonna lie, I can absolutely picture a stormtrooper on the Inquisitor base seeing something bad and not saying or doing anything because he doesn't want to get a lightsaber through the chest if they're the ones that try to get him and it doesn't work. In episode 5, everyone's kind of waiting around, and it kind of builds up the tension because you can see all these refugees waiting, but there's really no reason that they weren't already on the shuttle waiting for Obi-Wan to show up. Also, when their shuttle finally takes off, there's no reason that the Devastator wouldn't have sent ties out in order to kind of harass the area, to keep them in check, to be able to catch them. And in episode 6, we can clearly see at the beginning that Reva has a bandage, kind of around her wound, but it wasn't really addressed about her getting up, bandaging herself, and making it off the planet. That just kind of happened, and it felt like it happened very quickly. Once again, I still call these nitpicks because this type of thing does happen in other Star Wars films. In A New Hope, the Empire doesn't shoot down this one pod, and they do it because there was no life forms on, but it's not really explained or talked about. It's a pretty convenient plot point, and it starts the entire franchise, really. Now, it is talked about in, from a certain point of view, A New Hope, but still, it's plot convenience. We see in the film that the Force is strong enough to lift the ship, but Vader still lets his son fall to his death without trying to catch him. In Return of the Jedi, there's an entire Imperial fleet out there that are told not to engage, but when the second Death Star blows up, there's no explanation of where they all went. What did they do? Basically, where I come down on it is these plot conveniences do take me out of the moment, but I do recognize that they happen throughout all of Star Wars, and if they don't bug in the other films, then they shouldn't really ruin this for me, and that's why they don't. But it doesn't mean I'm not aware of them. Number 2 is the format, this 6-episode thing that Disney Plus is doing for all of the shows. Now, I do like that this was one single narrative, one single story that was told in pieces. I think that's great in order to really build tension. Certain other shows do really well with being episodic. I do, however, think this needs to land somewhere in the middle. I think this could have been really amazing with 4 episodes. I don't think they should be married to the 6-episode model. I think 6 episodes is hurting Miss Marvel as a show. Episode 3, they crammed 1,000 things into one episode, and it felt weird. But there were... I can't say that there was a lot of fat on the script, but there are things that could possibly be rewritten in order to fit in less time. I think we could have done maybe a 3-week thing where each one is an arc of the film, and we can do a 3-act type film. Or if we're talking episodes, I think this could have gone away with 4 episodes rather than 6. Now, obviously, certain things would need condensing, but I think episode 1 works well on its own, would end with him leaving the planet. I think they could blend episodes 2 and 3 together, and I think they could blend 4 and 5 together and keep 6 how it was. Those are my thoughts. I'm curious what you think about that. The number 3 thing that I wanted to mention was the volume. Now, the volume is amazing, right? It can do all sorts of things. The reason that we didn't get George Lucas's original Underworld show is because, you know, Star Wars requires so much detail that you can't just go to Chicago and shoot there. You need to be able to handcraft all these details, and the volume is able to do that. The sets were beautiful. The perspective was great on most things. The volume needs to be used as a tool and not the toolbox, in my opinion. So when we get down to it, when we get down to interacting with ships and perspective and all that, it gets a bit wonky. There's times where you'll see the speeders flying through, and I can't tell if they're, 8 inches wide or full sized. It's really hard to gain the perspective. As badass as it was seeing Vader pull a transport out of the sky, the perspective was off, and it still bugged me. I couldn't tell how big it was. I couldn't tell how far it was away. That's because it was being projected on the wall in the volume. I think it's a fantastic tool that can do a lot of things, but I don't think it can do everything. Anyways, those were 3 things that I did not like about Obi-Wan. Overall, like I said, I really enjoyed the show. I really liked watching Obi-Wan's development. I like watching Reva's story, and I do want to see more of Reva. Hayden killed it as Vader. That final fight was one of my favorites in Star Wars now. I don't want any more Obi-Wan. But I do want more stories told and more varied locations and time periods. And also, I would love to see a Reva show where she's kind of like Rurouni Kenshin. She's like a wandering Ronin that's trying to, find herself, reclaim her honor, do whatever, while the Inquisitorius is still trying to track her down. And in the end, she ends up joining the path and being saved by Quinlan Vos. I would love to see that. That being said, that's the video. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. I appreciate it. And may the Force be with you.